Right now, let's go to May. May's calling from Pasadena, California. Didn't get that wrong. And she is listening on a podcast. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you guys?
We're doing okay also. How could we help?
Yeah, yeah. So, I was actually being diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer 2 years ago,
Hmm.
and I was off work for 10 months. And after I went back to work, most of my job has been distributed, and when I came back, I do not have a lot of work, but they gave me some that it's really hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the whole job that I'm handling is just totally changed. And like in March this year, I got diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer,
Oh,
and 4 days later, I got a laid off notice from them. It's a total of 100 people, and I'm on the list.
Mm-hmm.
And before, I was a really good fighter. I fight for my family, my friends, whoever support me, and I get through with faith. And I'm really having strong spirit. And this time, with the two really, really major impact on my life, I'm feeling like I'm seeing two deadlines because the laid off is not until next year. I still am going to work. And so in my mindset, I'm like, I can die anytime with my metastatic breast cancer. And that's another deadline that I'm going to be laid off next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting into a hold, and I'm drilling down like I want to live for my everyone that support me, my faith, Jesus, God, and it's just I'm in a deep, deep depression right now that I cannot get out. I cannot function at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of support. I actually call hotline. I have therapists. I just use all the resources that I can have right now during my employment. So I'm going to see a psychiatrist next week, but it seems like I don't know how I can go forward because it's just because I'm very, very, very tired, and
Yeah.
I've been praying a lot. I cannot feel like God is listening to me because
Sure.
I just got a diagnosis from Saturday. I had a tumor in my spine, and it was not being shrunken down with radiation, but now it's even spreading along the spine. So I'm really hopeless right now.
Okay.
I feel very, very weak.
All right. Now, you hear the music. I have to take this break. You hold on. We want to give you some help right after this. So hold on, May. You're listening to New Life Live. Dr. Jackie Mack Harris, Mylon Yurkovich, Steve Arterburn here. 1-800-229-3000. Come join us. We'll be back after this. We're back, and we're talking with May. Really in a tough place, stage 4 cancer, laid off, and doesn't feel that connection to God. May, I just want to say this: we really feel so much compassion for you, what you're going through. I'm glad that you've called us here. I'm just going to say that it isn't unusual that these kinds of things would put you into a depression where you just aren't able to sense God's presence. Now, this may not mean anything, but I absolutely know that God is there for you, even though, as you say, you can't feel His presence. He is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and He loves you. And, you know, in an evil world, cancer happens. In a fallen world, we get sick. And I'm so sorry that that's what's happening to you. But just keep praying to God asking him to make himself known to you. Ask him for healing while you tell him, but I submit to your will. I just wanted to say that. Mylon, what are you thinking as she approaches this a really, really hard time?
May, I am so sorry to hear your story. You know, my heart goes out to you, and I sadly just have had many friends and acquaintances go through something similar. I'm so sad for you. What you're describing is absolutely overwhelming. Okay? And I want you to know I hear that. And when something's overwhelming, we're naturally depressed because it just is like a heavy weight in a cloud on top of us. But I have a question for you. You said, are you crying?
Yeah.
Okay. That was my question.
Yeah.
You're so strong, and you're so strong to fight for everybody, but can you cry?
I can, but I try not to. The reason why is afterwards that I will have really bad anxiety at night.
Okay.
And I feel like my head's going to split.
Okay.
So I try not to.
But you know, God is the inventor of crying. He gave us tears and tear ducts, and stress hormones are actually released through our tears. That is, they come out of our body through our tears. And, you know, a grief recovery group, a group of people that are dealing with present day grief might be a place for you to find some camaraderie and friendship and fellowship around that theme of I'm not alone here in this. And I agree with Steve. We continue to pray that God might somehow spare us from this, but we have to then, when and if the answer is no, we have to accept it, which is very, very hard. Jackie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I agree with what Steve and Mylon have said. It just breaks my heart that you're going through this. It all sounds so hard and so overwhelming. And you'd mentioned like feeling hopeless and weak, and you've just been so strong for everybody else and such a fighter, and you're tired and you're going through treatments and getting new diagnoses. The way you're feeling emotionally makes sense. It doesn't sound like weakness at all. It sounds very much like the reality of your situation is getting to you, and that just makes sense. Your body is in a fight for your life. So I just want to say that just makes me sad for you, and that we'll be praying for your strength in all of this. And I also agree that there has to be a sense of acceptance and maybe being able to go through a grief process and join with some others who are in that grief process of prolonged grief. You're in this perpetual grief. It's this ongoing series of losses, your own personal losses, but also that, you know, the loss of the job and your abilities and the tasks that you did before, and maybe even the way you're able to interact with people. All of that has changed. And so getting into a group of other people, have you had any connections? Have there been any resources provided to you through your oncologist of support groups of people who may be going through what you're going through?
Yeah, I did join a support group, but my situation is kind of unique that I got laid off at the same time. So I cannot really relate to anyone. And some group that I went to, they are more on physical pain. And I have some physical pain, but not as bad. It's more in emotional. So joining those groups actually doesn't really help and actually scare me more, because I hear how hard they are fighting for in physical terms. And I'm not there yet, and I'm feared that I'll go into that. So I actually told the director of the group that I think it's best for me to not join them, because it's gives me more fear on yeah.
Well, good job
That's
advocating
what,
and speaking up for yourself, because you have to find what works best for you. And there are resources out there. You can check them out. I think that's great that you checked them out and said, no, this doesn't fit for where I am right now, and that you're still seeking out help and assistance.
Jackie, speak to the concept, though, that she can really put that mentality can put her into a state of isolation.
Mm-hmm.
And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, so I appreciate the fact that you're able to advocate for yourself and to say this one isn't working for me, but I do encourage that you would continue to try to find some group of people. And I know you have a good support system, and so are there people in your support group? Is there a peer counseling program that you can connect with? It's important to have someone that you can be meeting with and talking through some of these things on a regular basis. So some churches have support groups where you can come. Some churches have peer support groups where you can join or have your own peer counselor. But it is important for you to have a person that you can be with.
All right. I'm so glad that you called. I'm going to send you a Life Recovery Bible with, it has a workbook that helps you go through the grieving process. You work the steps for the grief process. And so I'm going to send that to you, and I hope somehow that is helpful to you. You know, Bill W., who came up with the 12 steps, he said, acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. And acceptance is so hard when life hits us with hard things, but that's the direction that we need to find a way to head. And if we don't have that way, then we need help. And that's what we're here for at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.